It's the 17th of March today.
Oh yeah, the 17th of March. That's St Patrick's Day, isn't it?
It is, you're right.
It is, yeah. I hadn't thought. We should wish everybody a very happy St Patrick's Day.
We should indeed, yes. I hope you had a good one, because I do know that you'll be watching this video on the following Thursday, which is when it's going out. This is... So the 17th of March, and this Rudolph, it has been giving us harvest since the last week in December. That's about 3.5 months worth of harvest. How amazing is that?
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I do like to, tell people about this, because at this time of the year, when you're trying to feed yourself for as long as possible without having to buy something in, purple sprouting broccoli represents a really good crop to grow. It gives you lots of food over a long, long time. But look here, Mrs. W. This is the claret.
Yes.
And it's decided to show its hand, Mrs. W.
It's fantastic. It is a more vibrant colour, purple, than the Rudolph, isn't it?
You compare the Rudolph to... But then, it doesn't surprise me at all, because claret is an F1, whereas Rudolph is a heritage variety.
Right.
And what you often find is that F1s are bred to give big harvests, but you do tend to find they come in abundance. So you've really got to keep on top of, well, things like claret. Whereas the Rudolph, we can come out here every 2 or 3 days, can't we, and just pick what we want.
Yes, yeah.
Heritage varieties tend to harvest over a longer period, in general. But their harvest is not so big and abundant. Now, I wasn't expecting the claret to be ready right here and now. I was more thinking it was going to be the beginning of April. Well, we're about a week and a half away from there now. So it wasn't too far away. But I'm not going to complain, because there's just so much for us to be able to harvest. Now, in today's programme, it is time for us to do some more planting. It's one of the great beauties of March. You're seeing one of the downsides of March. Yesterday, the sun was shining, and it really felt all of its 13, 14 degrees Celsius that it reached yesterday. And we were zipping about this garden like...
Spring chickens.
Yes, like 17-year-olds again, Mrs. W.
My knee knows about it today, though.
But today, well, it's murky, it's cloudy, there's a little bit of drizzle about. But that doesn't stop us. Might slow us up a bit, but it doesn't stop us. But the positive of March is that you're not just tied to the poly or the greenhouse anymore. We're not just spending all our time sowing. We can now plant things. That's exactly what we're going to be doing on today's video. We have peas waiting to go out. We have turnips. We have beetroot. We have radish. And welcome back to our No Dig Norfolk garden. Now, it's always a joyous time this time, because one of Mrs. W's most favourite vegetables that we grow in the garden, and I would get hung, drawn and quartered for if we never got any, are peas.
Peas, absolutely.
And
can't beat them.
Here they are. And down this arch, where we're going to grow them, there are 27 holes. And in each cell And in these cells, we planted 2 of our home-saved seeds. So in total, with both sides, there will be something like 104 plants, Mrs. W.
Fantastic. Should keep me going for a little while.
Should indeed. Now, in the past, we have grown them in the 40 cell trays, and they've worked okay, haven't they?
Yeah.
We've always got a crop. This year, I decided to invest in some slightly deeper trays, and they've actually made these look really, really good.
Oh, wow, look at that. They're definitely ready to go outside, aren't they?
They are. You can see the roots, they're looking really quite good.
Superb.
And just having those slightly deeper trays has meant the roots have been able to go down, whereas in the 40 cell trays, they just tend to go round and around, don't they? And they take a little bit of time once we plant them just to find their way and see where they want to go. Whereas at this moment in time, they are all going downwards.
Yes, yeah.
It does mean that I've had to make the holes a little deeper, but simplicity itself, they just go down into the hole. There we are. And I've dipped the holes so that they're going slightly towards this frame, and as they get going, they'll attach themselves to this arch, and they'll grow all the way over the top. And with it being the variety alderman, I mean, they can grow to 2 metres or more if you don't pinch the tops out. They just keep going and going, which Mrs. W likes. She's not so keen when I say we need to pinch the tops out on these. No, she says. They'll keep giving us peas. But I shall need this arch later on in the year to grow the runner beans and the climbing French beans. So there does have to come a point when I have to pinch them out and stop them growing anymore. And it will be once they get to here. If you can find the tips, Mrs. W.
I can't reach them.
Because if you haven't been following our channel and you're new to us, this will be like a jungle by the time we get to May.
It will.
But a joyous jungle. And peas are a great plant to grow. They give a big harvest, especially this variety alderman, because it does grow so tall, and you do get nice pods. On average, 10 peas per pod. We have had them with 11 and 12, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
They really are amazing. They really are. And I know that 1 or 2 of you also grow this variety. I know Mandy does, for example. She's told me all about that. Yeah, it represents a really big harvest. Peas are also one of those things that freeze really well, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. The first few pods never make it to the freezer. They just get...
What do you mean the first few pods? Very little of our pods make it to the freezer. Folks, I've got to tell you, if you're new to the channel, this structure used to be sort of more down here. And I tried to make it a bit taller so that you couldn't reach them. I fear I need to make it even taller.
I'll find a step ladder.
Yeah, knowing on the fiendish Mrs. W. So let's get the rest of these peas planted.
Yep.
I said about the weather earlier, but days like this are some of the best days that you can actually pop plants out into the plots. If it's really sunny and really warm, and obviously it's a problem we have later on in the year, you know, then their transplantation can suffer a bit, and you really need to give these some water at that time of the year. Ordinarily, I wouldn't worry about watering these in at this moment in time. It's raining now, and it's due to rain quite a bit this afternoon. However, we have a pigeon problem. Our pigeons, not only do they like our brassicas, but they also like the peas. So for the first few weeks of their life, we need to cover them. So what we have done, we have given them a nice drink of water. Because obviously once these are now covered, the water's going to struggle to get to them. So we have given them some water. What I'm going to do is to cover them with some fleece. Here I have it here. Fleece is a really great covering to use at this time of the year, because not only does it help to keep pests off, but it also traps any of the sun's warmth as and when it does come out. And it keeps the worst of the winds off too, which is important. We talked about that when we put the brassicas out the other day, and with the onions. So to keep these sort of winds and stop them rocking about, this is really great stuff to use. At this time of the year, I tend to use 30-gram fleece. A bit later on in the year, when it is much warmer, you might want to go down a bit. Having said that, I have to say, we use this all of the time, because once we get into May, we don't find we then use the fleece to cover anything anymore. The weather will have warmed up, and it's more about enviromesh if we need to cover things. And what I would say is that I often get comments asking me where we get various things and what are we using. Everything you see here today, whether it be the piping, the cattle fencing, the fleece, the enviromesh that I've been using, I do always put the links to where we got them from down in the description. So always have a look there first, because I generally do put all the links there. It'll take you to where we got it from, and at least it will give you an idea of what we used. And if you wish to go on and buy it from there, that's fine, but you could also look elsewhere. The first thing we've done is to use some of our stakes. These stakes are what are usually under the blue piping, and that's to keep the fleece so it's not directly on the peas. And then what we've done is we've wrapped the fleece around these stakes that we filmed, and Mrs. W is going to have to do without her linen line for a little while, because I've pinched her pegs to hold it in place. Now, she has told me I need to go and buy some more.
Yeah.
Although if we get many more days like this, you won't be putting the washing on the line anyway.
That's very true.
And yeah, the peas are underway, which is amazing. This fleece will protect them. It will trap the sun's warmth as it comes out, and it will start to come out more. You won't believe it from today, but it will start to come. Hello, Scylla. Hello. You all right?
The bricks in the bottom are partly to keep her out, because she likes to get into warm places, doesn't
she does. Our cats like to get underneath. And it's amazing how warm it is under there on a sunny day. So yeah, you're surveying all now, aren't you, and thinking, how am I going to get in there?
No, and Scylla, she'll find a way.
Got my eye on you, young lady. I've popped the beetroot in. Mrs. W has insisted that I alternate them between the Burpee's Golden and the Bolt Hardy, because one is red and the other one is a golden yellow colour. And just by a quirk, it just worked out that way. The radish are red and the turnips have that whitish yellowy colour. So yeah, she does like to make things look really nice.
Colourful, a pattern.
You can see we put some hoops in place. These are metal ones that we've had for a long time. And we're going to cover those with some insect mesh. Not because the insects are a problem, but the pigeons that we have, they do like to go after the turnips and the radish. They are, after all, a brassica. And other birds actually like to eat the beetroot leaves, exactly the same as we do. So to give them the best chance, we're going to cover them until they get to a certain size, and then the covers can then come off. Well, the rain is really starting to come down now, isn't it, Mrs. W? Yeah. Got that done just in time. It's nearly lunchtime, and actually I'm feeling a bit hungry, and I can actually see it. We actually have some radish. Look at this, look.
Oh wow, look at that.
And that is the beauty of multi-sowing. You take the largest ones.
Yeah, and leave the others to grow on.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I'm feeling quite peckish, Mrs. W. Oh.
I'm just trying to think, is this the first harvest of anything from any seeds that we've sown in 2024? I think I'm right in saying yes.
It is. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Some radishes to go with my lettuce, and actually the spring onions are the size where we can pick them now.
Yeah, they're coming up quite nicely now, aren't they? Coming on. Those were the overwintered ones, weren't they? We popped those in September time, was that? Something like that.
Yes.
They were sort of the first things that we sowed into the polytunnel, weren't they?
They certainly were.
And the other spring onions next to them that we sowed earlier in the year, this year, they're coming along nicely now. So That's good.
And that just goes to show you the beauty of, if you can grow under cover, you can get these things that bit earlier. We go all the way back to mid-January when we did the first sow along of the year. We sowed those radishes. We only put them in the ground, what, less than 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, or about 3 weeks ago.
And we already have lots that we can harvest. There's plenty there. And as I say, it's a great example of multi-sowing. You can take one from each clump there, the largest, and you've got yourself some lovely radish to be able to eat. Of course, we've just set some off outside. One of the last things we did before the rain came. And yeah, we'll munch our way through these certainly over the next couple of 3 weeks, and then they shall become ready. Now, I've just taken the tops of that claret out. Look at that.
So lovely,
Gorgeous.
isn't it? Such a pretty colour.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm looking forward to my evening meal. Do let us know if you've had a nice early harvest anywhere. You got some radish. Did you sow the radish back in January when we did? And are you now enjoying some lovely, fresh, crunchy radish? Do let us know what peas you're sowing. What varieties? Are you doing the same as us aldermen? And have you sowed them yet? Have you actually set yours out into the ground, or are you waiting a little bit longer? Of course, we do garden here in Zone 9A, so it's quite mild. It's not really, really cold. Yes, we will still see the odd few frosts between now and mid-April, but they won't be harsh anymore. And with the fleece just keeping them nice and warm, they'll start to grow. And Mrs. W can look forward to her pea harvest as we get toward the end of May. Now, if you're new to our channel, you may well have seen that we're growing the peas over an arch. And if you want to see exactly how we made that, that video should pop up down below me right here and now as we end this video. Have a great gardening week, won't you all? And we shall see you back here in our Norfolk no-dig garden on Sunday.